When 4 armed men in police uniforms came for my wife, they didn't expect her to step outside wearing a badge brighter than their lies. What happened next? Shook our whole neighborhood, and exposed a conspiracy hidden beneath HOA rules. You won't believe who sent them. Everything began with a knock so loud and aggressive, it rattled the picture frames on our living room wall. I opened the door to find 4 men in crisp blue uniforms, guns already drawn and faces hidden behind aviators. Open the door, Mr. Thompson. Your wife is under arrest, the leader barked. No badges, no papers, just threats and loaded weapons. Oakwood Heights wasn't the kind of place where this happened. We had bake sales, kids on bikes, mailmen waving at dogs. But this was no normal morning. I tried to push back. You've got the wrong house. My wife hasn't broken any laws. The man didn't blink. Step aside, sir. This isn't a debate. Then came the sound of heels on hardwood. Behind me, Sarah stepped into frame, not in sleepwear, not scared. In her full sheriff's uniform, badge gleaming in the sun, radio crackling. You're pointing guns at my husband, she said flatly. Holster them. Now. The switch flipped instantly. Their control cracked like glass under a boot. One man fumbled with his weapon. They'd expected an easy target, not the actual Sheriff Sarah Thompson. The leader rallied, this doesn't concern Sheriff Thompson. But Sarah stepped forward and said, that's funny. I am Sheriff Thompson. Then came the bombshell. Dispatch, this is 214 Sierra. I have 4 unidentified armed males at my residence. Claiming authority. Confirm any warrants. Call came back fast. Negative. Units en route. Suspects likely impersonators. Their faces turned gray. And for the first time, I realized we weren't just bluffing. We had authority. They had nothing but costumes and fear. The silence tightened like a noose. Sarah's badge glinted in the sun as neighbors stepped onto porches, phones raised. Everyone was watching. Sarah commanded, drop your weapons. Now. The leader, still holding on to ego, threw out one last threat. You think a badge makes you untouchable? Sarah's eyes didn't flinch. No. But it makes me real. The men were cracking. One trembled. Another whispered, this wasn't supposed to go like this. The sound of sirens rose in the distance, real ones now. The blue and red glow painted the sidewalk. Patrol cars screeched in. Guns drawn, real deputies this time. The imposters knew it was over. One by one, they dropped their weapons. The silence was louder than any command. Sarah calmly updated dispatch, 4 impersonators detained. Scene secure. But just when things seemed to be winding down, Gregory Allen appeared. Pressed khakis, golf shirt, and clipboard like a holy relic. The HOA president. He marched right into the chaos, face red. This is outrageous, he barked. They were here on HOA business. Enforcement officers, contracted. You've been ignoring citations, Sheriff Thompson. Sarah turned, equal parts fury and professionalism. Real compliance officers don't wear fake badges and wave loaded pistols. That's when someone across the street said it, loud and clear. Wait. He paid them. All eyes turned to Gregory. Phones lifted higher. The HOA president had just admitted to sending armed fakes into our yard with forged authority. The drama wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Then the terrifying twist. One of the imposters, scar on his cheek, still cuffed, lunged at Sarah. With a roar, he swung his bound hands like weapons. You're coming with us. Time slowed. Sarah moved like lightning, grabbing his arm, twisting, sweeping his legs. The crack of bone echoed across the lawn. He hit the porch hard, face down, groaning. The crowd gasped. Phones clicked. Attempted assault on a sheriff, Sarah announced calmly. Add it to the charges. Cheers erupted from the neighbors. They shouted from sidewalks. Get M, sheriff. Finally, someone stood up to the HOA. But the real bombshell hadn't landed yet. From the scarred man's pocket, a deputy retrieved what looked like an arrest warrant, with Sarah's name on it. County seal. Legalese. Signature. Only, the judge whose name was on it. Retired 3 years ago. And at the bottom. Prepared by Community Compliance Division, a fake subsystem of the HOA. The forged warrant. Real danger. HOAs weren't citing lawns anymore. They were authorizing armed invasions. Gregory tried to talk fast. Clerical error. Misunderstanding. But Sarah held the evidence bag in the air. No judge signed this. You paid men to impersonate law enforcement and sent them to my house. The crowd turned. Deborah from 3 doors down hissed, he forged court papers. Mr. Jenkins added, that's a felony. Phones lit up like fireworks, and at that moment, Gregory Allen's reign collapsed. At the emergency HOA meeting that night, the clubhouse was packed. But the rules had flipped. No one listened to Gregory's misunderstanding speech. Not after the video was played, Sarah stepping out in uniform, guns drawn, the takedown, the forged warrant. He tried to recover. We hired a third-party security team. It was compliance enforcement. Sarah stepped forward, voice calm. Compliance doesn't wear tactical gear and impersonate police. What you funded was criminal. Mrs. Parker, humble and quiet, rose from her seat. I make a motion to remove Gregory Allen as HOA president. Effective immediately. Cheers. Shouts. Seconded. Unanimous vote. All in favor. A sea of hands. Gregory sagged into his seat, clipboard sliding to the floor. But Sarah wasn't celebrating. This wasn't over. Because Gregory had warned her. You've made enemies, bigger than me. And he wasn't wrong. The logo on the forged warrant traced back to Community Security Solutions, a shady Houston contractor. Deputies ran the name. CSS had a dark past, trespassing, harassment, forced evictions, all disguised as neighborhood enforcement. This wasn't just Oakwood Heights. This was happening across 3 states. Gregory may have fallen. But the machine behind him was still humming. 2 weeks later, they arrested Gregory in broad daylight. Fraud. Conspiracy. Endangerment. His clipboard. Evidence. The forged documents. Evidence. The lies. Finally exposed. Federal agents raided CSS headquarters. Hard drives seized. Contracts frozen. 12 neighborhoods were named in the lawsuit. Oakwood Heights breathed easier. Lawns bloomed again. Kids returned to sidewalks. But behind Sarah's calm expression, I saw it, she wasn't at peace. Late one night, she looked up from a county file. This isn't over. Someone bigger funded this. This was planned, layered, strategic. And we're just scratching the surface. She was right. Local news exploded. National headlines followed. Sheriff targets HOA in major impersonation scandal. Fake cops, real charges, the wrath of Oakwood Heights. Sarah was summoned to brief the governor's office. What started as one HOA dispute had become a national wake-up call. On our porch, we sipped coffee as the sun went down. Gregory was a symptom, she said. We're going to find the disease. She wasn't just a sheriff anymore. She was the firewall standing between good neighborhoods and greed wearing a uniform. I asked her, what happens when the next wave comes? She didn't even flinch. Then we hold the line. Because once Oakwood Heights stood up, the rest of the country started watching.